Hey, I want to talk about what happened halfway across the world in New York City today. It actually happened last night. Namely, Zoran Mamdani was elected the mayor of New York City. Born in Uganda, the son of two Marxist radicals, his father, an anti-American extremist professor. Here's a few words from Dad.
America is the genesis of what we call settler colonialism. And the American model was exported all around the world. Abraham Lincoln generalized the solution of reservations. They herded American Indians into separate territories. For the Nazis, this was the inspiration. Hitler realized two things. One, that genocide was doable. It is possible to do genocide. That's what Hitler realized. Second thing Hitler realized is that you don't have to have a common citizenship. You can differentiate between people. The Nuremberg laws were patterned after American laws. Anyway, the US put Indians in reservations. The US invented the model.
And his mom, a movie producer, and in fact, Zoran himself was a bit of a theater kid. Here he is doing some rap. That was his first choice in a career, but alas, mom's connections couldn't make up for a lack of talent. Here he is.
I'll finish you like Fudon Sawani. Onatera kunchukange nkoko, natera kukuba chioko, jagara nkukubenga to. Hey, Sisoko, Sisoko. Oliwa, let's get together. Oliwa, let's get together. Oliwa, let's get together.
Well, he bounced around from theater kid job to theater kid job until he came up with the ultimate part to play, which was a local councillor. Well, he's the mayor of New York now. He didn't get 50% of the vote, but he beat Andrew Cuomo, who was his chief counterpart. Cuomo used to be the governor of New York until he was felled by a Me Too scandal. And if you add up the votes from Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, the creator of the Guardian Angel sort of street safety movement, pretty much a dead heat, but that's not how politics works. What's real is what happens, and although the vote split was almost perfectly even, the vote split did happen. I think it's going to be a new chapter for New York, much like the election of Sadiq Khan was for London. Here's just an excerpt from Zoran Mamdani's election night acceptance speech. He didn't really reference America or any founding fathers. In fact, he started off by referencing a communist.
The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power.
Mamdani praised every ethnicity except for America. Here, take a look at that.
Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To every New Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point.
That's who he said he was courting, and in fact his campaign ads were in several languages other than English. Here he is speaking Arabic.
مرحبا، أنا اسمي زهران ممداني وعم رشح حالي ليكون العمدة الجديد في مدينة نيويورك. بعرف شو عم تفكروا، شكلي كأني سهركم من الشام، بس العربي تبعي بده شوية شغل. مع هيك أنا حابب اليوم أطلب دعمكم يوم 4 نوفمبر.
The crazy thing is, and this may sound hard to believe, that while he did draw votes from the Muslim community and other new immigrants, his support was overwhelming amongst white liberals, especially white liberal single women, who voted for him at more than 80%. I say again, he only got about 49% of the vote in total. Women were 80% plus. They just voted for him. I don't know, it was a to hell with you, Dad, or I'll show you, or it was some fantasy, I don't know what. But the idea of liberal women voting for someone who is a communist and in some ways, let's say he's a religious fanatic, his own wife is not covered, she doesn't wear the niqab or anything, but it's just an astonishing young liberal. There's a lot of conversations these days about how young men are becoming more right-wing, but I think that is a modest turn of events compared to how left-wing women are, not just in the United States, but in Canada too, and even abroad. I understand in South Korea it's particularly apparent. Anyways, I think that New York City has a problem now. I'm not sure which problem it is. On the one hand, Zoran Mamdani, if he does use the tools at his disposal, he really could make New York more communist and less American. He's on record despising the police. He's on record denigrating America itself and saying that, let alone his views on Jews and anti-Semitism. It's also quite possible that someone who's really his first job is to be the mayor of New York, which is like being the prime minister of a small country. There's a real chance that he may just completely fail, but he'll be able to do a lot of damage in the meantime. New York is resilient. It was in dire straits in the 1970s before Rudy Giuliani brought it back, mainly through a tough on crime approach. But Zoran Mamdani is the anti-Giuliani in just about every single way. The thing is, the difference now versus when Giuliani put New York back together, is it's a lot easier for wealthy people, for mobile people to work from home, to, if they want to, move across the river into New Jersey, or more likely, move down to Florida. Ever since COVID, people have gotten used to not working in big offices, and to this day, vacancy rates in New York City have not recovered to pre-COVID levels. I think you could just see people leaving New York. A combination of anti-Semitism that was already on the rise there, plus a certain rise in crime, plus the war on wealth that Mamdani's communist side suggests, means I think a lot of people will leave New York. It's funny about the left, though. They rail against billionaires, but it was interesting that Zoran Mamdani waited till today to publish this photo with Alex Soros, the son of George Soros, a billionaire donor. I guess there's the good billionaires who donate to him, and then the bad wealthy people, who is everyone else,